Nintendo is weird sometimes, but we love them for that. From hardware and accessory choices like the Game Boy camera and the Virtual Boy, to the more recent zany experiment with cardboard known as Nintendo Labo, Nintendo always seems to think of new and stranger innovations to hook us. But sometimes things have gotten beyond weird. Things have actually taken a darker turn. Like, remember the book of literal human skin from the Nintendo published game Eternal Darkness on the GameCube? Or the creepy artwork from the original NES port of Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom? Yeah, let's just say that I'm thrilled that we ended up with Princess Peach in the Mushroom Kingdom instead. Or what about when the Switch launched and we were all milking cows and 1-2 Switch? That was something that I don't think any other gaming company would have come up with. Though, I guess that's not creepy or dark, it's just weird, but if you really think about it, this sort of eccentric innovation and wacky charm has been the reason that Nintendo has stood the test of time. Since the mid-2000s, they stopped caring about specs and resolution and storage and really just about everything that made Xbox and PlayStation so coveted. Instead, they were super successful by just being different, and yeah, by sometimes coming up with really strange games. So, in this video, I'm going to highlight 4 games from Nintendo's storied history that have just seemed slightly off. Sometimes in a good way, but sometimes, well, let's just say that Nintendo might have a side you never knew existed. First, let's take a look at The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Set in an alternate Hyrule, basically a parallel universe of sorts, the story of the game is actually wild when you think about it. The game starts off with Skull Kid literally cursing Link. The moon is on a crash course with this alternate Hyrule. We're basically stuck in a 3-day time loop, and get a look at the happy mask salesman. I mean, if that's not the stuff of nightmares, I don't know what is. Throughout the different regions of the game, we have the land in a state of turmoil with contaminated and poisoned waters, a plague in one part of the world, and a quote, eternal winter that's basically killing off the Gorons. Oh, and I never even mentioned the weird masks. Think about the all-night mask, for example. This mask is literally a torture device. Its design is to prevent the wearer from sleeping. Yeah, nothing like a little insomnia, right? The fierce deity mask, which possesses the power of some dark supernatural being, is also just a tad creepy, but I mean, in a game where even the postman's mask is scary, I guess it is what it is. All I know is that Majora's Mask is a game that really showed Nintendo's grittier side. Next, let's take a look at a 3DS game called Tomodachi Life. This was the time when Mii's were Nintendo's big new avatar feature, launching at the same time that the Nintendo Wii really kicked off. This game, though, is basically a life simulation of sorts, but it's also just strange at times. According to an article from Red Bull of all places in 2016, some of the weirdest things that you can do in the game include, quote, perform a creepy love song, create threesomes or foursomes, humiliate someone by dressing them up as a chicken, turning someone into a child, eavesdropping on someone's bath time. The Reddit for this game is also pretty hilarious and messed up, with some comments noting their favorite creepy elements of the game, like the wake-up animation where the Mii will stare at you, say nothing, and go back to sleep, the fact that Miis can melt if they don't like the food that you gave them, oh, and adult Miis turning into kids. Okay, yep. This is one of the darkest Nintendo games of all time. I already thought the game was weird, but knowing all of those things definitely makes it worse for me. Next up, we have 1-2 Switch. So, I already mentioned the whole Milk the Cow game earlier in this video, and everyone really gravitated to that one upon release because it was just so strange, like in a comedic way. Sam Byford of The Verge noted the strangeness of this moment in his review of the game in 2017, saying, quote, I milked a cow and ate a sandwich. But if you haven't played 1-2 Switch before, you may be surprised to learn of a few of the other darker minigames that this game has. In CNET's review of the game in 2017, they particularly focus in on a game called Baby, which I also thought was strange because the game, quote, makes me rock the Switch tablet and watch a creepy crying baby as I try to calm it down. Yeah, nightmare alert. It's also pretty creepy to me that in the eating contest minigame, the game actually uses the camera in the Joy-Con to literally sense your mouth. Like, nope, I'm out, I'm good, I'll go play Mario Party instead. I think that one seems a bit safer to me. Let's just hope we get a new Nintendo Land or a sports game or something for the Nintendo Switch 2 and not a 1-2 Switch sequel. Okay, this last game that I'm going to cover today is actually seen as one of the best horror games of all time, and that game is Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem. In this psychological horror game, you kind of play the part of a detective investigating your grandfather's murder and making your way through a creepy mansion, basically time traveling and embodying various characters as you read about them in a book. The unique aspect of this game, though, that sets it apart is the sanity meter. When you run into different monsters, it affects the sanity meter, and eventually, when your sanity completely dips, your health begins to run out, and the world just goes absolutely crazy with blood oozing from the walls, the camera spinning around, and hearing random voices like in the new Hellblade series. This is a game that also limits you on ammo and feels like an old school sort of survival horror game. I'd honestly love to see Nintendo remake this game in modern times, but this was also a time when Nintendo was still a bit edgier in terms of what they were putting out. Like, remember Dark Link from the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess? So yeah, for those who only remember the kid-friendly side of Nintendo with modern takes on the Legend of Zelda like Breath of the Wild and all the family-friendly Mario Party games and Mario spin-offs like the Rabbids games, Nintendo has definitely had moments where they've strayed from its kid-friendly reputation and into something much darker. From Majora's Mask to Tomodachi Life, and from 1-2 Switch to Eternal Darkness, Nintendo has provided plenty of nightmare fuel over the years, and honestly, I kind of like it. But that's all that I have for you guys today on the dark side of Nintendo. If you enjoyed this video today, consider subscribing, and let me know down in the comments below what Nintendo games that you think are the strangest, or maybe the scariest. Are there any Nintendo games in particular that really stand out to you in a weird way, like maybe WarioWare, which I didn't cover in this video? Anyhow, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next level.